Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. Ray Flowers breaks it all down for you from a fantasy sports perspective. Oh, do we got a banger for you today? Welcome to the show. I am Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FG. We're here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Rocking and rolling for you on the roughly 1 hour free show. We got a big show today, by the way. Football, baseball, packs, announcements, sales, lots of things to discuss. For those of you watching online, I know the camera again. We're struggling. We're not going to see the vent today. I'm pretty sure about that. We do have a little bit of a problem with Zoom. So hey, look, my head's a little bit smaller than normal. Maybe that's a good thing. You can see my Guinness. I do have a Guinness hockey jersey that I'm wearing. You see Archer Zerbe in the background. Regardless, there are 3 places you can watch the show live. Leave comments and questions while you're watching live. I see people in the chat room already talking to one another. So those 3 places are youtube.com/@ElitePlusNetwork, Twitter X @FantasyGuru's site, and Facebook.com/FantasyGuruHQ. In those 3 places, you can watch live or on demand. You can also leave comments during the show if you're watching live. You can also type in Fantasy Sports Daily wherever you listen to podcasts and find us there. Appreciate the likes, subscription, subscribe, and all of those places as well. 5 stars, whatever it might be. And then you can always go to FantasyGuru.com and click the click the Elite Plus tab at the top of the page there. Let me throw up on the screen what we're doing today, and we got a lot. So let's get into it. We're going to talk about the baseball draft guide. Yeah, buddy. Let's go. We'll talk about that here in a few moments. We'll actually open up a pack of cards again. That's for you, Adam, our ASMR. We'll talk some news in the NFL. What's going on in the NFL right now? Yeah, they're still playing. We've got rankings up over at FantasyGuru.com. Best ball rankings, weekly rankings, all that kind of stuff. We're still in the Discord answering questions. Articles still going up. My matchup piece just went up within the last hour over at FantasyGuru.com, so we're still covering football. We'll visit with Tyler Buecher since it is a Thursday in about 25 minutes. With Tyler, we're going to review the quarterbacks and the wide receivers. With Armando, we're doing running backs and tight ends. Tomorrow, we'll have on Russell Clay at about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. We'll talk rookie running backs with him because he's our dynasty guy. But we'll talk quarterbacks with Tyler Buecher, young guys like Cam Ward, Jaxson Dart, older guys like Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray. We'll talk with him over a host of things. Let's talk about it. You see it there on the screen. That's right. Boom! There we go. The 2026 MLB Draft Guide is available over at FantasyGuru.com. Aw, yeah. It's available starting tomorrow. Now, you can actually pre-order today. So you go to FantasyGuru.com, click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. You see the link there on the screen. You find it in the description below. You can also just go again to FG, click the subscribe tab in the top right corner. You can get the DFS baseball package. You can get the wagering baseball package. You can get the seasonal baseball package. You can get all 3. Go all in, get all 3. It's the best deal. You get everything we do for baseball. That's podcasts, live streams, articles, chat rooms, all that kind of stuff. Remember, whichever one of the 3 products you do or don't get, if you get 1, 2, 3, you can access the Discord room for that particular product, right? So if you're doing seasonal baseball, you get a Discord room for that. If you're doing betting, Discord room for that. If you're doing DFS, Discord room for that. So you can interact with the folks over at FantasyGuru.com. But the bottom line is the product actually drops tomorrow after we get done with the show here. I'll be spending all day making sure everything is tip-top shape. I think we're going to make it. Again, some of this stuff is out of my hands, out of my control. I'm not a tech guy, so if there's any glitches tomorrow, I apologize. But we should have up about 12 to 15 articles tomorrow, and then we'll basically have at least 1 article, I would think, every day from now until the start of the season. And in fact, we'll have at least 1 article. Many days we'll have 2 articles, barring something unforeseen with my health or family or something like that. So start dropping articles tomorrow. You can see on the screen there, we've got rankings for NL only, AL only, and mixed leagues. We've got auction values for NL only, AL only, and mixed leagues. It's not up yet, but next week, I think it's next week. I should have verified that. I'll verify that later today. Next week, I think it is. Let's just do it now. I got the page here, folks. Let's pull it up if I could find it. What is the schedule for next week? The points league rankings will be available in 10 days? Maybe we'll switch that. How about we switch that? Let's do points league rankings on the 23rd. Dynasty rankings will get pushed out about a week. So we're basically going to drop the product tomorrow, which is what, the 18th? 16th will be tomorrow. Next week, we'll have the points league rankings available. We'll have the rookie rankings available as well. The dynasty rankings. We got a lot of stuff going here. The bottom line is I've really planned this out. Hopefully it makes a lot of sense. I'll be working on an intro podcast that will just go into more detail. So for those of you wondering, hey, what can I learn a little bit more? There will be a podcast for that. It'll be free. You can all check it out. But we've got points league rankings, dynasty rankings, rookie rankings, the mixed league roto rankings, as you see there. Category rankings we'll have sold rankings when it comes time. We'll have editorial pieces. Obviously, we'll have research articles. We'll have the draft book, which I hate. I'll explain why when we get to it. But we have that. Everyone seems to love it, even though I think it's terrible. FYPD rankings. We don't fire. Is that fire department? I don't know what that is. Give me a little bit more information, Ethan. FYPD. I'm not sure what that actually means. But yeah. So anyway, we got a lot of rankings. They'll be updated continually. The rankings over at fantasyguru.com will be updated on an as-needed basis, which is frequently daily. Oh, first-year player draft. No, we're not going to have first-year player draft rankings. We used to have a fellow that did that. I don't know if he's going to do it. If he does, I'll be the first to let everyone know it was great work and all that. But first-year player rankings, I will have rookie rankings. So we'll have all the guys, Weather Holt, all the guys that are going to make an impact in 2026. But guys in the college draft, that kind of stuff, if you're looking ahead toward the actual draft later this year, we won't be covering that directly, Ethan. It's just not applicable. If any of the players on the fast track, once they get drafted, we'll talk about that, obviously, over at the website. But we'll have a review of the rookies. Historically, I go through this every year. It's pretty instructive, I think. A lot of people ignore this information. I don't think you should. So a review of the rookies. We'll have scouting reports for the hitters. We'll have scouting reports for the pitchers. And then we'll have our top 50 rookies for 2026. That will be included with the product over at fantasyguru.com. So head over to FG. Click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. Get signed up now. Again, choose the seasonal baseball, the DFS baseball, the wagering baseball. Get 2 of the 3. If you have any questions, send an email to support@fantasyguru.com. Support@fantasyguru.com. Or just get all 3. Go all in. You'll have it taken care of over at the site. All right, let's get back to some football. No, let's do a pack break. Let's do it. Here we go. We've got 3 more packs left, including this one. So 2 more packs after today. This is the 2025 Chrome Baseball Update Series. So this is rookies, players that have changed teams. We're looking for autograph cards, memorabilia cards, 2025 Chrome's Update Series. The highlight thus far has been a Shohei Ohtani Fortune card. We'll see if we can beat that today. Let's hope that we can. All right, the first card is Moises Ballesteros, who a couple weeks ago didn't look like he was going to have a role with the Cubs, but now it looks like he might actually open the season as their DH. He can hit, and he might get an opportunity to play on a rather consistent basis this year for the Cubs, which would make this rookie card more valuable. Next up, Will Wagner, Padres here. These are pretty cool. I always like the Chrome cards, by the way. For those of you that are sports card collectors, I always like Chrome. Pretty sharp looking card. I don't love camo on a jersey. I don't love all the alternative jerseys they have, but whatever. I guess they got to do what they got to do. Let me move this microphone a little bit. There we go. All right. Zach Veen is supposed to be. It doesn't look like we have any great cards today, unfortunately. Zach Veen was supposed to be the number 1 outfield option with the Rockies. Power, a lot of speed. Jordan Beck is the guy that stepped forward last year. Veen has kind of been jerked around up and down from the minor leagues. It would be nice if they gave him an opportunity and just let him go. There are some holes in his game that he hasn't really been able to tighten up. But with Beck's assertion last year and importance now in the daily lineup for the Rockies, maybe Zach Veen this year can join him because it doesn't look like a guy like Chris Bryant may ever play again because of his back. Dylan Lyle was terrific in the second half, and he will absolutely be in the rankings at fantasyguru.com. He should play every day for the Nationals this season. Had a really solid season last year and was big down the stretch. For those people that picked him up off the waiver wire, he did a lot of nice things in the second half of the season. Chase Dollander, rookie refractor. I forget what this one's called, but it's got, as you can see there, it's got the checkerboard refractor thing. Dollander is a tremendous talent pitching for the Rockies, which stinks. His performance last year was bad. Again, pitching in Colorado is not easy for a veteran. I was lamenting the fact that we have Mike Lorenzen going there. They had to pay him $8 million to go get his brains beat in. Dollander's got a chance with this stuff to be effective there, but as we know, it's very difficult to pitch. This is a cool card. And about a year ago, this card would have been worth a lot more than it is today because that performance last year was a little disappointing. And then finally, John Raw of the Royals, another one of the cool-looking checkerboard reflector cards there. And we got 2 more packs to go. We didn't get any winners today, but we got a couple of nice cards. Chase Dollander. Again, that's a Chase Dollander rookie card. You never know. Maybe it becomes something. We'll see. 2 more packs to open, which means we'll open 1 today and then 1 next week. For those of you that are not hip to the schedule change this week, you've already lived through it, so I bet you understand it now. But the bottom line is moving forward, I should have said this at the start. I'll be on Monday, Thursday, Friday every week moving forward. On Tuesdays and Wednesdays, Justin Fensterman will host the show. On Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I'll be with Jeff Manns on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. That Elite Sports Show is Monday through Friday from 2 to 5. So I'm here with you 3 days, Monday, Thursday, Friday. I'm with Jeff on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So that's the baseball portion of things. And remember, Draft Guide will be dropping tomorrow over at fantasyguru.com. We'll have art, we'll have pictures, we'll have a lot more information on it as we move forward. But it is available tomorrow, starting tomorrow. But you can pre-order it right now. Get involved, get all the products. Any question you have, send an email to support@fantasyguru.com. Remember, for $19.99, you can still get involved with our football product. Everything we do the rest of the way besides the Super Bowl betting guide, meaning you can get the weekly rankings, you can get the weekly DFS advice, you can get the weekly betting advice for football. And I would really encourage people, if you're kind of on the fence, if you're not really sure what you're going to do with your product next year, if you're not really sure you're going to join with us or somebody else, $19.99 is a pretty good deal to get involved. You get a couple of weeks, you get a month here of coverage at fantasyguru.com. You get to test all of our 3 main products: seasonal football, DFS football, wagering football. I would really encourage people to do it. And it's $20. It's not overly expensive. And don't forget, you can also get involved at fantasyguru.com in a variety of other ways, including the MVP plan. The MVP plan is all the sports we cover, but football and baseball. Meaning that if you sign up for the MVP plan, you get our basketball coverage, our hockey coverage, our NASCAR coverage, our PGA coverage, our MMA coverage, our horse racing coverage with Slappy White. Yeah, Slappy White. So check it out, the MVP plan over at fantasyguru.com. Okay, let's talk some football for the rest of the show. And remember, I should also say this. As we move forward, obviously there's fewer and fewer games in the NFL. Next week, we'll really start to talk a little more baseball here on the show. We kind of been reluctant to do that to this point because we wanted to keep the football thing going. We will continue to have football discussions every Tuesday. Armando Marsal will be on at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. Every Wednesday, Rich Mileto will be on at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. Every Thursday, Tyler Beaker at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. And every Friday, Russell Clay at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. So at least on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we should have football talk at least a little bit every single day. Justin will spend some more time talking basketball on his 2 shows. I'll obviously spend baseball on my 3 shows here as we move forward. All right, let's talk some football. The big news this morning, you probably have seen it already. If you haven't, the Giants did indeed get their man. According to NFL.com's Ian Rappaport, a 5-year contract will be signed by John Harbaugh to become the next head coach of the Giants. About the worst kept secret out there because we all knew this was going to happen. The Giants get their man. The Giants get the best coach available, in my opinion. We've talked a lot about this on the Sirius show. I'm not really sure what the Ravens' decision was. I guess it was because Harbaugh didn't want to get rid of his coaching staff and the Ravens wanted to. Bottom line is they moved on from John Harbaugh. Harbaugh goes from the Ravens to the Giants. And this is really exciting. The Giants have a lot of weapons. They have a lot of young players on the defensive and offensive side. Obviously, we're all excited about Jaxson Dart and what he could do in the future. Don't forget, even though he was really good this year, he didn't have Malik Neighbors. And Malik Neighbors is a top 10 receiver in this league, if not a top 5 receiver in this league. He'll come back from the ACL injury. So having Neighbors return for Dart is a huge benefit. Harbaugh will go there, institute a winning atmosphere. He'll become a leader of that organization. We'll see how they fill out the rest of their coaching staff. But for a team that's won 8 games just twice in the last 12, 13 years, to get a guy in John Harbaugh who always wins at least 9 games, I don't think he's ever won fewer than 8 games in his coaching career, which is, again, basically what the Giants have done 10% of the time the last 10 years. It'd be a nice change probably for the Giants. And it wouldn't be surprising if the Giants are in the playoff hunt as early as next year, 2026. Great power move by the Giants, first step, and them taking the next step. The next storyline on the coaching side of things is obviously Mike Tomlin. Now, this news broke that Tomlin was pulling away from coaching with the Steelers during the Elite Sports Show earlier this week. And as we were going through this, we didn't catch something until a caller actually called in, and then we started doing some research, and it's true. Because Mike Tomlin, in essence, decided to leave the team voluntarily because he wasn't fired, the Steelers still own his rights for the next 2 years because that's the duration of the contract. So that means that Mike Tomlin is extremely unlikely to be coaching anywhere in 2026. It's not that teams don't want him, but in order for a team to get Mike Tomlin as their head coach in the coming season, they would have to work out some kind of trade with the Steelers. Would the Steelers be open to that? Maybe. We also heard Art Rooney II, the owner of the team, says that he does not anticipate that Mike Tomlin is going to be coaching in the near future. So it seems extremely likely that we're talking about Tomlin going into TV, taking a hiatus or whatever. Kind of an interesting scenario. Clearly, this points that he thought the time was ripe to move, that the time was up with the Steelers because, his rights, again, belong to the Steelers, so he's hamstringing himself. He could do TV, but he can't coach another NFL team without some kind of trade being worked out. So we'll see. There's always a chance that can happen, but as we sit here right now, it seems unlikely that will happen. Art Rooney, the owner of the Steelers, again, Art Rooney II. I'm the third, by the way, so I love the continuation there. Suggested that Aaron Rodgers won't return for 2026. It was very much an idea that if Rodgers was going to play one more year in his NFL career, it would only be for Mike Tomlin. With Tomlin leaving the Steelers, it seems like Rodgers is at least done with the Steelers. Who knows with Aaron Rodgers? He'll probably string this out and let it be a storyline for the next 4 months because that's how Aaron Rodgers is. Most likely, it would seem that his career is done. That's the read of the situation right now. That's my expectation, that the season is over for Rodgers. The career is over for Rodgers. He'll go into the Hall of Fame, all that kind of stuff. I'd be very surprised. Though, again, as I said, and we kind of laughed about it on the Elite Sports Show on SiriusXM, Rodgers could be the backup quarterback for any team in this league for years if he wanted to do it. This is not a Phillip Rivers situation where his arm is completely shot. He can still sling it a little bit. He could be a backup quarterback. I don't think he wants to do that. So he's probably done, but we'll follow that storyline because there are teams, as we'll talk with Tyler Buecher here in a few minutes, about 10 minutes, about the quarterback position. There are teams that definitely is limited as Aaron Rodgers is at this point. There are teams that would take him in a heartbeat to be their quarterback. Looking at the playoffs a little bit, the Niners are set to face the Seahawks. This will be the third time, obviously, they played this year. For more on this, go to fantasyguru.com. You can read all the articles. Tyler Buecher's articles come out soon, all the game script stuff. My article's out today, the matchup piece. The rankings, again, are available over at fantasyguru.com. We'll have up our confidence pool, the staff, every week. For those that don't know, we pick games. So we create basically a confidence pool each week. The Niners, obviously, last time out against the Seahawks, were shut down. They scored 3 points. Now, the Niners only allowed 13, and their defense played pretty darn well last game out against the Eagles. We talked about that earlier this week. But this is going to be a very difficult matchup for the Niners. The good news is, good news, I guess it's good news. Ricky Pearsall, with that knee injury, could play this week. They are optimistic that he's going to return this week. It was forever ago, and it doesn't even seem real anymore, but Ricky Pearsall, he had 100 yards that first game against Seattle, right? Let me pull that up just to verify. I think he had 4 catches for 108 yards in week 1. What was it? Week 1 against Seattle, 4 catches, 108 yards. Yeah, so he did have a 100-yard game against the Seahawks. Now, again, this was week 1. It's easy to forget. 2 of his first 3 games this year, he had 100 yards, Ricky Pearsall. And in fact, if you look at his performance the first 4 games this year, Ricky Pearsall averaged 5 catches for 82 yards. That's a significant contributor. We've talked about it a lot. He doesn't play. We'll see if he plays this week. The reporting is that the team is optimistic he will return. That's a huge boost to a team that desperately needs it. George Kittle obviously is done with the Achilles injury. We'll see what that means for his future. But Jake Tonjes will step up. Tonjes averaged 11 PPR points a game in the 5 games that Kittle missed earlier this season. So Tonjes, not a bad pivot for those of you in the old one-and-done leagues and all that. I'm going to make a note. I got to set my own lineups. NFL leagues. By the way, I didn't mention this earlier when we were talking baseball, and we'll get into this more. There are discussions behind the scenes right now with some exciting stuff. We hinted at this on the SiriusXM show yesterday. We're not trying to obfuscate or trying to promise things or anything, but there are some really exciting things we are working on behind the scenes right now. I'm really excited about this. It's something we've talked about before on this show, something we've talked about. So, but stay tuned for that. There's some really exciting things for the baseball product. We'll talk more about that as we move forward, including tomorrow. But the bottom line is the Niners hope to get back Pearsall. The loss of Kittle is significant. They'll try to find their offensive game, which they struggled mightily to do against Seattle. They looked terrible against Seattle offensively with that 3-point effort. It's going to be a very difficult game for the Niners. Positive news in the Niners locker room. Fred Warner is not going to play this week. But Fred Warner has had his 21-day window opened as he attempts to return from his ankle injury. When Warner hurt his ankle, the expectation was that his season was over. Then we started to hear, well, maybe he could play. Now we're hearing he's not playing this week, but he's actually back and he's doing things at practice. There was a lot of video. Warner said he felt great to be back. His teammates were overflowing with praise, how he's worked so hard, and this is fantastic news. And it seemed like there was a real pick-me-up there. Because again, Fred Warner is, for all intents and purposes, the defensive leader for this team and one of the leaders of the team, if not the leader of the team. So having him backing around and practicing, even if he's not going to be able to play against Seattle, is giving a positive vibe to the locker room. They could desperately use it with all the injuries they have dealt with. There is a possibility that if the Niners win this week and they make it to the NFC Championship game, that Fred Warner could return. Fred Warner, Pro Bowler, all-pro level. He's a tremendous defensive player. His return to the Niners would be a huge boost to a defense that, again, has played pretty well, but they're kind of ham and egging it, putting it together there. Championship game possibility return for Warner if the Niners can advance that far. Some news around the NFL. Well, again, we'll go about 5 minutes away from talking quarterbacks with Tyler Buecher. For more coverage of the playoffs, remember, go to fantasyguru.com, click the subscribe tab in the top right corner, $19.99 the rest of the way to get our football product besides the Super Bowl betting guide. Send an email to support@fantasyguru.com, support@fantasyguru.com for rankings, articles, discussion, all of that over at the site. Travis Hunter, his tenure with the Jaguars, the start of his career, right? Well, he's a rookie. He's playing two ways. It's almost impossible to do, and he gave it his best effort, got hurt, missed most of the second half there. We heard from the GM that the plan as of now is for Hunter to play wide receiver and cornerback again. We've talked about this a lot. The Jaguars traded up to draft him. Seems kind of strange. They made a trade for Jacoby Myers. They signed Jacoby Myers to an extension. They've got Myers. They've got Thomas. They've got Washington. They've got Strange at tight end. They really need Travis Hunter to play wide receiver. Yeah. My guess would be he'd play more defense and less offense next year. That's how I read it right now. Again, things can change in the offseason. But I'm thinking more he plays 15 to 20 offensive snaps, gets 3-4 targets a week, that kind of thing, while focusing on the defensive side. We'll see if it plays out that way or not. But the GM came out and said Jaguars fully intend for Travis Hunter in year 2 of his NFL career to play both defense and offense. Speaking of the Vikings, what are they going to do at the quarterback position? They got J.J. McCarthy, hurt his knee last year. They made Sam Darnold had this great season. Darnold left for the Seahawks. McCarthy got a chance to start this year, in and out of the lineup, constantly hurt was J.J. McCarthy. Played some nice games. Showed a nice arm, showed some wheels. There were reasons to be excited about J.J. McCarthy. And again, we'll talk to him. I would talk to Tyler Buecher about him in a few minutes. Lots of things to be excited about, but way more things to be concerned about with J.J. McCarthy. Constant turnovers and constant injuries. So we'll ask Tyler how he would assess that first season, even though it was the second year in the league. That first season, the bottom line is Kevin O'Connell, the head coach, said that he wants a competitive situation at quarterback. And that, getting J.J. McCarthy right is a huge emphasis for the team. But again, they want a competitive situation at quarterback. So the Vikings will absolutely bring somebody in to compete with J.J. McCarthy. Whether that's a Gardner Minshew type, like somebody like a veteran like they did with Carson Wentz, whether that's them making a power move in the trade market or in the free agency, we'll see. But they will bring somebody in to compete with J.J. McCarthy. So if you have McCarthy in a dynasty league, you hold, but you don't really know if he's starting in week 1, and we don't know if that's even the right thing for him to be doing starting in week 1. Talking further about the Vikings, Jordan Addison. This may amount to nothing, But for the third time in 2 years, Jordan Addison was arrested. Now, this time was for probable cause trespassing on a Tuesday morning. I don't even know what all of that means. On a Tuesday morning, trespassing, it was in a downtown area. I didn't look into all the details. We'll get more details. But the bottom line, he was arrested. He was released, all that kind of stuff. But he was arrested. That's his third arrest. Second arrest was in 2023 when he was cited for driving 140 miles an hour on the freeway. A year later, in 2024, he was arrested for suspicion of DUI. Okay, so we have speeding, 140, not 10 miles an hour over the speed limit, 140 miles an hour is speeding. Then a suspicion of a DUI, which, by the way, he didn't say, what is it? He pleaded no contest. In California, when you plead no contest, he was given a 3-game suspension as a result. He's put on like 12 months of probation, all that kind of stuff. Then we have this arrest for criminal trespassing. I don't know. I don't know why some of these guys can't stay out of trouble. I don't know if it's the way that they were or weren't raised. I don't know if it's the people that are around them. I don't know if it's just being 25 years old and being rich. I don't know what it is. But this is a troubling trend. Like, we've talked a lot about J.J. McCarthy. Talked a lot about the failures of T.J. Hawkinson. A lot about the concerns of Justin Jefferson. What the hell's going on with Jordan Addison? He's getting arrested every year. Like, literally every year. So this is something to keep an eye on. He obviously had a down season this year. The hope is he'll bounce back and return to a much stronger supporting character, maybe 8 to 10 touchdowns next year, that kind of thing. But we'll have to see. He could get suspended again because, again, this is not the first time. It's not the second time. This is now the third time. So keep an eye on that because there could be another suspension. And the last one was a 3-gamer. The next one could be 4 to 6. We'll see how it goes with Jordan Addison. And finally, Adam Thielen, the former Steeler, but the former Viking, announced his retirement after 12 seasons. Just for those of you that didn't see that news, a great career for Adam Thielen. Actually, I don't think Thielen was drafted. Was he like a free off the street? I think he was, right? But he had a great career, 12 seasons in the NFL. Let me see here. 35-year-old originally entered the league with the Vikings after going undrafted. Yep, that's true. He made a couple of Pro Bowls. He had a couple of seasons where he scored 14 and 10 touchdowns. He had a couple of seasons of 100 catches and 1,000 yards. Hell of a career for Adam Thielen, but obviously we wish him well in his next career. Let's see if there's any news that's broken earlier. Oh, this is really exciting news. Potentially for the Buffalo Bills, Ed Oliver, who has been fantastic this year when on the field. He's been dealing with a biceps issue. He's being listed as questionable. They've opened up his window, so in theory, he could return this week for the Bills. Again, he's being listed as questionable to play against Denver. That would be a huge addition to the defense of the Bills if indeed he is able to find his way out on the football field. Okay, so that's some news. That's me babbling on. Let's get into some news with a guy that doesn't babble, the guy that knows what he's talking about, one of our main men over at fantasyguru.com. Remember, click the subscribe tab in the top right corner. Send an email to support@fantasyguru.com. You can get all his talk on live streams. You can get all of his mind in the Discord room, get access to all of his articles. And you also see him here every Thursday at about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. That is Tyler Beaker of fantasyguru.com. How you doing, Tyler?
Doing all right, Ray. Is that a Guinness jersey you're rocking?
Yeah, it is. Let's see if I can.
Nice. Love it.
Yeah, it's 1759. I guess is when the company started way back when. So yeah. You're not. So you're a Guinness guy?
Yeah, I went there. Maybe 10 years ago now.
Okay.
But yeah, went there and had a fresh pint up top. It was a pretty cool little factory thing they got going on there.
Nice. Yeah. For those people that can't see it, it's my Guinness hockey jersey. I realized that, it's kind of cold outside and stuff. And I'm thinking, I have 15 hockey jerseys in the closet. Why don't I start wearing those? So I pulled the Guinness one out. Not even a real hockey jersey, but I pulled the Guinness one out. I have one authentic. No, I have two, actually. Game-used hockey jerseys. One of them is a Christian Ehrhoff World Cup jersey from Germany, who actually met him after I got the jersey from NHL.com. I then went to a signing event with the Sharks and asked him, hey, would you sign this? And he got super excited because there was a mark on the inside, so he recognized it was actually his real jersey. So he went over to his teammates and was showing them, and they were like, none of them cared, but I thought it was super cool. And then I've got an Alexander Daig Senators jersey, which is, gosh, that's 25 years old now. Do you have any jerseys for any sport that are game used, Tyler?
No, not game used. A couple ones that are signed that I still need to hang them up in this office. I have yet to do that, but yeah, nothing game used. That's a cool little addition there. Maybe I need to expand my collection over here.
The Alexander Daig one was very difficult because it obviously came from Ottawa, which is Canada, and so that was a huge thing with customs and stuff back then. But I got it; it's in the closet. So his career, he was the number one pick in the draft, and his career kind of. But cool jersey, and it was a game worn one. So what the hell? I got that in the old collection. Tyler Beaker, fantasyguru.com. Let's move beyond the nonsense of me. I just got excited because I'm opening up packs of cards on the show, so I'm in memorabilia mode, I guess, Tyler. But let's talk some football with you. And again, Tyler's articles are up over at fantasyguru.com. You're still doing your game script articles and all that for the playoffs this week, correct, Tyler?
That's correct. Yeah. So it'll be out on Friday, usually the afternoon. About halfway through that. Got the Saturday games already done. Working on the Sunday ones this afternoon. So should be up Friday afternoon. Looking forward to it, man. I love writing these articles. It's a shame that the season's kind of winding down, but I can go a little bit more in depth with them in terms of the content because I've got fewer games to write up. And it's more interesting. The matchups are far more fascinating, particularly this week. I think there's a lot of really fun games on tap. The wild card round really just set the stage for a really fun postseason for the NFL. I'm just hoping the divisional round lives up to those expectations here this weekend.
I hope so too. And by the way, my article's up right now. Went up this morning. You heard Tyler's article goes up tomorrow. The two of us, as well as the rest of the staff, put our winners for the week and our confidence pool, all that kind of stuff. That'll be available over at fantasyguru.com as well. And Tyler, I assume you'll be in Discord-ish answering questions if people have them?
Yeah, I'm always around. Feel free to tag me at any time. If I don't answer you in that moment, I will get to you very shortly because it's kind of slow now. It's pretty great.
You got time to answer those questions too. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about review? We're going to have you on every Thursday at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. We're going to kind of go and look in the rearview mirror and kind of review the quarterback position and the wide receiver position with you. And these are in no particular order. They're just names we're going to talk about. So these aren't rankings or anything like that. But the first guy I wanted to ask about is Cam Ward, who, some good moments, some what the hell's going on moments, late injury. It doesn't seem like that's a big deal with his shoulder. Seemed to improve down the stretch, limiting turnovers. He had 4 games in a row with a couple of touchdown passes. How do you assess Cam Ward when the whole situation around him was so messy? Like, how do you assess what he did as a rookie this year?
He's a really tough read. He finished the year as the quarterback fantasy 34 of all players with 8 minimum games played, 11.4 fantasy points per game. He didn't clear 15 fantasy points in a single game until week 12. So yeah, he may have ended the season on a bit of a high note, but the lows to begin the year were among the lowest of the lows.
Right.
He was quarterback 39 out of 40 qualifying in EPA per play, quarterback 38 in success rate, finished the season with the second worst yards per attempt mark, 5th worst completion mark. This offensive line, there's a lot of talent there, but they finished 19th in pressure rate allowed. Ward tied for the league lead in sacks with Geno Smith. I think a lot of that kind of revolves a bit more around his play, Ward's play, rather than the offensive line.
Right.
But I still think there's room for improvement there. This offense, I think what they really need for Ward to take a step forward is a legitimate wide receiver 1. I think it's very likely that Calvin Ridley is cut to save cap space. They can take on $13 million of dead cap this year and take that instead of paying him $27 million each of the next 2 seasons. They also got the number 4 draft pick in this year's class. Very live for them to take this year's best wide receiver in the class. They could also go edge. I'm very curious to see how this plays out for Tennessee. I'm not very optimistic in terms of long-term success, but I was kind of that same way with Jared Goff after his first season. He had one of the worst seasons of all time in terms of, was it EPA per play or DVOA? One of the advanced
Maybe
stats.
both. Who knows?
Could have been both, yeah. And turned things around quite a bit. So who knows? But listen, as far as number 1 overall picks go at the quarterback position, they're not always home runs. We've seen many whiffs at the QB positions specifically. Ward could be next in line. I hate to say it.
Ooh, speaking of guys that are kind of whiffs, Bryce Young, there was some improvement from Bryce Young. I think that's fair. I love the fact that 2/3 of his victories are fourth quarter comebacks, even though there's no victories actually on his resume. There seem to be limitations. It's just my outside analysis, and you'll give the true answer here, I think, Tyler, is that There are just limitations here, and he's fine. But do you want your quarterback to be fine? Like, you need more than that in the modern day of the NFL, in my opinion. How do you assess what you saw from him this year?
Let me just Google this real quick. I wanted to double check his height. Yeah, 5'10". Okay, that's what I thought it was.
Is he 5'10"? Is he 5'9"?
He's 5'10". He's 5. Well, yeah, fair enough. Yeah. How high were those cleats when?
Yeah. He looks so little out there. He looks, at least Kyler Murray's kind of got some width to him. Like, Bryce Young looks tiny.
Kyler Murray, when I watch him, he looks like 5'8", 5'9", with the 1.25x speed multiplier on,
right,
with the little legs just going.
Yeah.
Bryce, I saw some improvement this year. Last year, I think he ended on a high note where there was some optimism entering the season. Didn't really live up to it early in the year, but to close out the year, he was doing pretty well in my eyes. From week 11 through the wild card round, he was the quarterback 12 in EPA and composite percentage over expectation. Completion percentage over expectation. Sorry. So my last memory of him this year is that dot that he threw to Jalen Coker in the corner of the end zone against the Rams late in the fourth quarter. They picked up a fifth-year extension from him recently. He was the fantasy quarterback 25. So there's still some. This is a fantasy-centered show, so I want to at least mention the fantasy stuff to begin with each player. But I don't know, man. The offensive line, I think, is still a major work in progress. They did invest heavily 2 years ago into refortifying the interior of the offensive line, but I still think they need to add another difference maker there, either at center or guard. I think it's also super notable. They lost their left tackle, Ike Okonwo, to a torn patellar tendon during that wild card matchup. So that might be something that not many people are aware of. End of the season on a sour note there. But when I look at this team and the infrastructure around it, I think they still need like one more difference maker in the offensive line, but the rest of the cast looks pretty great. They added legitimate weapons for Young and Ted McMillan, Jalen Coker, Jonathan Brooks. I'm already seeing some hype about him for 2026. Jatavian Sanders, he was a 5-star tight end prospect. There's some talent here on this offense. If they could just spend the entirety of this offseason focusing on the defense, like this pass rush year in and year out, them and the Falcons, they're just year in and year out fighting for who is the worst pass rush. My goodness. If they can just become competitive, I mean, even just jumping to 20th or 15th, like that can really change how this offense rolls, because Dave Canales is a guy that wants to run the ball. And if we're able to get the Panthers out of scripts where they are required to throw the ball deep late in games, not put the entire responsibility and onus of the game on Bryce Young's 5'10" shoulders, then maybe we've got a chance for this Panthers team to make some noise week in and week out in the NFC South. I don't think they're that far away from turning things around. They just really got to focus on the defense this offseason.
Tyler Beaker, fantasyguru.com. Adam says, nice shirt, Tyler. Those are so comfy. We spent all this time talking about my Guinness jersey. What about your T-shirt?
Yeah, I got this guy, I think, a year ago. But yeah, we've got those sales going on at Fantasy Guru. You can check it out under our merchandise section. But yeah, got, what do you think? About a dozen or so different items out for sale.
Right.
Yeah, go check them out. Yeah, I love this shirt. I wear this all the time.
They are very comfy. My lady always steals them from me and then wears them to bed. So I can never find my work T-shirts because she's always wearing, because she doesn't like it when they're, men. She would never wear a jersey as an example, but those are so soft. She loves them. Tyler Baker, fantasyguru.com. What do we do with Justin Herbert? We've had a lot of discussions about him this week on the Elite Sports Show on SiriusXM. It's Monday through Friday, 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern with Jeff Mans. And it's really easy to forget that the first 2 years Justin Herbert played in this league, he averaged 4,700 yards and 35 touchdowns, like some huge numbers. This season, the offensive line was injured. It's been a storyline you've heard 1,000 times. They had 29 different line combinations, all that kind of stuff. Justin Herbert actually showed a lot of athleticism, almost running for 500 yards this year. But the last couple of seasons, the numbers, the performance, is this as simple as fix the offensive line and we get back the early career Justin Herbert? How do you look at his 2025?
I think it really comes down to the coordinator, actually. So they let go of Greg Roman. They just announced that earlier this week. DC Jesse Minter, I think he's also very likely to get poached as a head coach somewhere. So when we see a team that loses both coordinators in the same offseason, generally those teams tend to take a step backwards. Maybe this isn't the year for Herbert, or maybe they're put in a spot where they need to rely on him. This offensive line, getting back both tackles is going to be huge, but they need to get help along the interior of the offensive line. Bradley Bozeman was among the worst graded centers of the entire league. Right guard Mekhi Becton, he had a huge step backwards from 2024 to 2025 and is due $12.5 million entering 2026. I could see him as a cap casualty. They're just like, okay, it just didn't work out. They've got great talent in terms of the pass catchers. I like the majority of the offensive line is still pretty good. And even with all these like shortcomings with the offensive line and how the season played out, he still finished quarterback 10 points per game, 18.7. He had 5 games of 25 plus fantasy points. Only Stafford and Mahomes had more. So there's still a great fantasy ceiling to be had here. I just want to see him in an offense that pushes the ball down the field more frequently. I think we're seeing too many of these Herbert offenses play conservatively in the past few seasons, right? Where, like the offensive rookie of the year campaign we saw from him feels like eons ago, but it really wasn't that long ago. Like there's a good chance that this guy is still around and he has the ability to be an MVP. I mentioned this on our Tuesday roster coach live stream that I will be putting MVP tickets on Herbert this year in advance of him playing with some healthy offensive linemen and in advance of some likely steps backwards from this defense. Like, could they lose Khalil Mack? Does Derwin James continue to play at his level? There's some question marks, I think, on the defensive side of this Chargers squad, especially with Minter out of the picture, where maybe Herbert is the guy that need to be relied on and could put up an MVP caliber campaign. Like, there's so many great wide receivers here. I really like the depth they've got there. Guys like Trey Harris, Keandre Lambert-Smith. There's some needle movers that are kind of just buried. But with Keenan Allen, he was a 1-year deal. He's likely out. I think there's a good chance that this Chargers offense takes a step forward in 2026.
Tyler Beaker, fantasyguru.com. Jaxson Dart did some really nice things, showed his athleticism, passed the ball a little bit, ran the ball with effectiveness, had a bunch of head injuries concerning. But we got the news this morning that John Harbaugh is now the coach of the Giants. That feels good. We know that Malik Neighbors will return at some point next season. That's a great addition for Jaxson Dart. Talk to us about 2025 and an early expectation for him in 2026.
Yeah, tough year for him to evaluate as well. Like getting acclimated to the NFL, big jump from the college ranks. He's had multiple play callers with Dable getting fired midseason, losing a star wide receiver right out the gate, and then losing his lead running back a few weeks later. Tough first year for Jaxson Dart. He still finished the year quarterback 7 in fantasy points per game, 20.5. I like to look at that 20.0 mark as great for fantasy, or they're a dime a dozen if you're under that if you're under that line. Right. But yeah, if you look from week 4 when he was finally named starter, 20 plus fantasy points per game. He was the quarterback 15 in EPA and CPOE composite during that span. Quarterback 3 in designed runs. I'm very curious to see what John Harbaugh does with his lengthy history of mobile quarterbacks and how often they design some things for Dart here. Wanda Robinson's a free agent. I think that's super notable. The right tackle, Jermaine Elumonor, is 31. He's also a free agent, getting up there in age. This offensive line, 21st in pressure rate allowed. I think this team needs some work, but there's like the building blocks are certainly in place where you can see why Harbaugh took this squad, where they've got great pass rushers. The nucleus of the offense is there. They just kind of need to fine tune it a little bit, and then Dart could be, dare I say, a top 10 fantasy asset again. Like I really like him. I think he's a fun guy to root for. The weapons are there. The aggressiveness with the rushing's there. Like, we love rushing when it comes to fantasy quarterbacks, and Dart's got that in spades, whether it be designed runs or scrambles.
Tyler Beaker of fantasyguru.com joins us Thursdays at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. Joe Burrow. It was just a year ago that Joe Burrow threw for almost 5,000 yards and 43 touchdowns. We know that he's had some huge seasons. We also know that 2 of the last 3 years he hasn't played 11 games. And we also know that he said some things that kind of make it seem like, I'm 28 now. Will I be playing when I'm 35? So there's some question there. We've often said that, look, there's weapons there. We know him. Their defense is never that good. So he's throwing the ball a lot. He was on pace to throw 35 plus touchdowns this year again, So it seems like the real question with Burrow is, how do we assess the fact that 2 of the last 3 years he just hasn't played because of injury? Does that impact how you look at him now and moving forward?
No, I don't think it would impact that because when available, he's still producing high-end fantasy production. 20.6 fantasy points per game from weeks 13 through 18 when he was finally healthy. He's still playing elite ball too. So he might not have the lengthy numbers in terms of the final season stat lines, but on a per game basis, 270 yards per game. That's quarterback 2. Only Jacoby is throwing more. 6.6% passing touchdown rate. That was quarterback 4 on the year. I think it's very notable that the team retained Zach Taylor at head coach. So we're still going to see this aggressive passing offense. They're not a fast-paced passing attack, but they are a pass-heavy offense. And then you made a great note there about the defense. I think they're still years away from turning into a competitive group. They've worn out the welcome mat with Trey Hendrickson. He is out. I can't believe him staying. I'd be amazed if he stayed.
They butchered that. Yeah.
They definitely butchered and botched that whole process. The offensive line is still an issue for them, though. They're 25th in pressure rate allowed. The interior of that line needs a lot of help. But they still got the key guys there. They've got Burrow, they got Higgins, they got Chase. And as long as they've got that trio, they don't care where the rest of the money and the rest of the structure of this offense and the whole team, let me rephrase, goes, because they're taking up so much of the cap space. It just leaves very little room for any other stars to get paid.
I talked earlier about J.J. McCarthy. And, you look at J.J. McCarthy, he's been in the league for 2 years. He's played 10 games, 7 complete games. I don't even know how many games he's actually finished. There's not a lot here to really – let's call it 7, 8 games. Some good moments, a lot of bad moments. We know the team's talking about bringing in competition, which is a smart thing to do in Minnesota. What do we do with J.J. McCarthy? Where are we at right now?
I feel like you don't spend a top 10 pick on a guy and just bail after 10 games played. It just seems too early. This offensive line was beat up for most of the year. There were a lot of players in and out, but they still finished number 1 in lowest pressure rate allowed, despite all the turnover there. So it's really just the spotlight is on McCarthy. He needs to do better. He led the NFL in off-target throw rate. He was number 2 in highest first read rate. So he's either looking at his first guy or just firing a 100-mile-per-hour fastball into the dirt somewhere. There's a lot of areas for him to improve. He's still got a lot of mobility. He's a very athletic young guy, but he just needs to make his way through progressions much more consistently. There's a lot of offseason work he needs to put in, but the infrastructure's there, the offensive line, the weapons, the coaching. It's just, like I said, the spotlight's on McCarthy. You got to have a big 2026 season, or the Vikings are going to have to move on out of necessity.
Now, J.J. McCarthy's out there, and he's fired up. He's yelling, he's screaming. He's good. Kyler Murray, I don't know if he's ever gotten excited. I don't know. He might get excited when he's playing video games. I don't know. He just doesn't. He got hurt. The foot. Was he really hurt? Did he bow out? Is he going to be back with the Cardinals? Are they going to work some, magic here with the cap to get rid of him? To me, what are we, 7, 8 years into Kyler Murray now? It just is what he is. And, that it's not bad, but it's also not championship level. You can't, and he's getting $50 million a year. So it's if you have Kyler Murray in a dynasty scenario, what do? Do you got to hold on? There's nothing you can do. Do you make a move to add him? Are you concerned about him being back with the Cardinals next year? Wrap this one up. There's a lot of things going on, and I don't know how much of it's really that good.
I don't know how they're going to play this one out. My move would be to sever ties. Let's see what we got with Jacoby. Run that back one more year. Invest in a quarterback for the future. Let Kyler Murray go play for any other team. Maybe he goes to the Jets. Who knows? Because, with number 2 pick, who was it? Dante Moore from Oregon just pulled out of the race for that. So, I think there's very few options after the Indiana quarterback to go at number 2. So Kyler Murray could be needed in terms of at least generating some type of market. But if I'm Arizona, I've seen enough. I think we've been through this enough where he's not a quarterback you can win with. You're gonna need an all-star supporting cast for him to come through. I'm just done. I'll be honest. I'm just done.
I was done before it started. I'm on record I saw him interviewed by Dan Patrick, and I was like, no, I'm done. And again, in fantasy, he's fine. If he's a starting quarterback, he runs and he's quarterback 11, he's fine. But that's just something to think about with him. Jayden Daniels has a similar skill set, but obviously there's more intrigue, there's more excitement. He's much younger. There's potential for growth. He was terrific as a rookie. There were moments in year 2, but there were just too many injuries. And eventually the team shut him down. Now we get back to the concerns about does he have to build to hold on in the NFL and all that kind of stuff. So, Daniels, where are we at?
Yeah, I was looking at my quarterback rankings for that class, and I think I had Daniels quarterback 4 because of the durability issues. And I took the L season 1. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Right.
Season 2.
You.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, this could be a guy that's like on that RG3 trajectory where he's fantastic and healthy in terms of fantasy production on a per game basis, but availability is huge at the NFL level. I don't know if he's got the size to withstand all the hits that he's going to take as that type of mobile quarterback. Losing Kingsbury also very notable too. Like what kind of offensive coordinator does Washington bring in? The offensive line's kind of middle of the pack. The weapons there are also kind of questionable. Like we've got 30-plus-year-old Debo and Terry McLaurin, both those guys on the wrong side of 30.
Yep.
Tight end, what do we got? Like
Hurt, yeah. Retiring. Yeah.
It's I don't know, man. I think Daniels is the type of player where if you do draft Daniels in any type of redraft format, you're also looking at it through the lens of adding a second quarterback rather quickly, because he's just not a player that I think you can bank on season long, week in and week out. A lot of minor injuries kind of piled up for him, but there's still like that the weekly upside though. It's kind of the thing we have always chased with like Anthony Richardson, Justin Fields. Mm-hmm. The ability to put up a 30 banger is just not something many quarterbacks have in their wheelhouse. Daniel certainly has that. He just needs a lot of things to go right for him, unfortunately.
So, like, if you're in this, we're not holding you to this because it's 2026, but we're not there yet. If you're taking Jayden Daniels, because he's probably still going to be a top 10 quarterback. Like, I don't think because people are going to the potential game. We've seen it with Anthony Richardson for years, and Daniels is more accomplished. Does that mean, like you're saying, you're grabbing Jared Goff with your next pick? Like if you were to take, or are you off Jayden Daniels because you don't want to deal or worry with that, despite there being upside?
I would view that. Maybe I'm already in the best ball mindset, but I am looking at the double tap of the quarterback position if I am going Daniels, where I'd probably try to leave round 11 with 2 quarterbacks if I go the Daniels path. But in redraft, the waiver wire is so rich. I don't know if I would go that way in a redraft league. For Dynasty, though, I do think he's an interesting sell because there's still a lot of upside, still a lot of intrigue, still a lot of value that you can still retain from a guy like that. But that's going to be very squad dependent, very league dependent.
Tyler Baker, fantasyguru.com. And then finally, Justin Fields, you mentioned his name. Now, I look at Justin Fields and I see an extremely talented guy who almost at every stop has seemingly been given the raw end of the stick. He's with the Bears. They have no weapons. They bring all the weapons and they get rid of them. He goes to the Steelers. He goes like 5-1. They bench him. He gets to the Jets. Everyone gets hurt. They have no receivers anyway. You know, there are holes in his game, and it doesn't look after 5 years like he's going to close some of these things, right? Just doesn't look like it's going to happen. He also has thrown 2 interceptions in 365 attempts, which is pretty good. He can still run as well as any quarterback in football, maybe as good, maybe even better than Josh Allen. Like, he can really run the football. Is there a path to Justin Fields being a starting quarterback in this league and having him be viable as a fantasy option? Or is it just, even in a dynasty league, it's just, even if he's your third quarterback, who the hell cares?
This was it. I thought this was the year where we would have kind of gotten that answer. The offensive line, you mentioned being thrown the short end of the stick. The offensive line was 32nd in pressure rate this year. The Jets did not do well in that. That's the highest rate in the league. Fields was also one of the weirdest quarterbacks where he had a higher passer rating when pressured than not pressured. He's the only one that was in that boat. Daniel Jones was the second closest with almost like a 0. He was basically the same quarterback, but Fields was the rare anomaly that did better when pressured. I think when we look back to the early season performances, we saw some great highs, but we also saw a lot of inconsistencies where if he's not getting it done, or if he doesn't have his feet to the flame in like the third or fourth quarters where his team was playing from behind, it just seemed like Fields was just doing these drives where nothing was ever accumulating. I don't know to answer the question with Fields. He's just kind of been a player that I've never been able to kind of accurately put my thumb on. I don't really have a strong take on Justin Fields, I'll be honest with you. He's just a guy that I'm not really kind of gravitating toward.
I mean, look at this. The Jets, Garrett Wilson, right? And his loss was huge for the offense, but you mentioned the offensive line struggles. The receiving core, Josh Reynolds, Mac Delana, Jamal Pritchett, Quentin Skinner, Arian Smith, Tyler Jones, Isaiah Williams. Like, what the hell is it? Like, you know, you've got to – you've got Justin Fields, even if it's Tyrod Taylor. They made moves for Mechie and Mitchell, which were good, but that was far too late to help out Justin Fields. I look at front offices sometimes and I'm like, what are you thinking? Like, Justin Fields needs a good offensive line and he needs weapons to help him. He's not Joe Burrow who's going to, Joe Burrow gets blasted all the time, but he's not going to pick apart a defense. It's just a weird scenario that they go into this season seemingly without the weapons around Fields for him to have extreme levels of success. Then they blame him almost like it's his fault it doesn't work out. And as I noted, it's their numbers, and there's a lot of other numbers as you're pointing out. But the last 2 years, he scored 21 touchdowns with 2 interceptions. Like, it's like and again, maybe it's because I drafted Fields in Dynasty years ago and thought he'd be something. But like, this is not there was no win here. This was not a scenario that Justin Fields was going to win unless he just did something that we hadn't seen from him the first 4 years.
Yeah, and unfortunately, just too many injuries kind of piled up for that offense, where himself included, where it's just tough to evaluate. I think they did sign him to a 2-year, pretty sizable contract for the Jets, so he'll probably get another run here. But I don't know, man. Like, they've got the number 2 pick; they're likely going to spend that, I think, at edge. There's a lot of need there for a pass rush in New York, but after that, they just really got to build around him, give him a chance. Like you said, the Bears' biggest issue is never giving him enough weapons. They're finally now loaded in this Ben Johnson offense, but Fields is nowhere to be seen. Where here we've just got Garrett Wilson, we've got Mason Taylor, we've got question marks. That's it. It's tough.
How does Bryce Hall catch 36 passes in this offense? Like, isn't that a coaching problem? And again, maybe he's catching a bunch of balls at the line of scrimmage and getting tackled for 3 yards. Okay. But he went from 76 catches to 57 catches to 36 catches. You've got nobody. You can't sustain a drive. You can't get first downs. Why isn't that, I mean, again, but doesn't that seem like that number should have been 60? Like, how the hell does he have 36 catches?
That's coaching. There's no reason. I made a few bets throughout the year, bets on his receptions, because you never know with receiving yards and running backs. Yeah. Sometimes they get tackled right away. Sometimes they spring them for a 20-yard gain. Mm-hmm. But to not incorporate screens to help alleviate some of the pressure, to not do some quick outlet throws, some Texas angle routes, there are so many ways to get a player like Bryce Hall touches, and the Jets not doing it's pure malpractice. So I said it before. I wouldn't have been shocked if Aaron Glenn was given a one and done kind of season like we saw with the Raiders.
Right.
Doesn't look like he's getting fired. I don't know how you escape that. Maybe ownership just wants some continuity because they've had so much turnover year after year. Right. This is not the squad to build around. Yeah. I was really upset too with Tanner Engstrand, who came from Detroit. I thought we were going to see some creative play calling. Not much. I was really disappointed with the Jets this 2025 season.
So is Jeff Nance. He actually mentioned that on the show yesterday. Tyler Buecher, fantasyguru.com, joins us every Thursday at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. We'll continue to talk quarterbacks with him next week. We'll also talk wide receivers with him as we go through the month of January here. Tyler, as always, thanks for your help today. Thanks for your knowledge today. Remember, folks, his articles will be dropping tomorrow. Looking forward to the playoffs. And as he mentioned, he's fired up for the playoffs. Which game are you most excited about watching? Does one really stick out to you, Tyler?
They all kind of do. But the first one, Denver and Buffalo, I think that'll be the very, very interesting one for setting the table for this upcoming set of games. But, yeah, that's the one I'm most looking forward to.
Tyler Buecher, fantasyguru.com. Tyler Buecher, it's at Tyler Buecher on Twitter X too, correct?
Correct. Yep.
And you can see his name there on the screen, B-U-E. Make sure you spell it right. Don't spell it backwards, folks. Tyler, thanks for your time today. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you a week from today. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks for having me, Ray. Take care, everyone.
12 to 1 Eastern, Monday through Friday. We're here with you, Fantasy Sports Daily. I'll be back tomorrow with Russell Clay. Head over to fantasyguru.com. Click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. Any questions, support email, support@fantasyguru.com. And from 2 to 5 Eastern on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, the Elite Sports Show with Jeff Manns, Monday through Friday. For Tyler, I am Ray. Don't forget the baseball guide drops tomorrow over at fantasyguru.com. We'll see you then tomorrow on Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by fantasyguru.com.